Space Marines, the Emperor's finest, and they shall know no fear. But are they cool? Today, on This Mini Sucks, I'll be talking to fellow hobbyists, exploring their pop cultural significance, as well as building and painting a 500-point Imperial Fist army, all to find out once and for all, are Space Marines cool?
They shall be pure of heart and strong of body, untainted by doubt and sullied by self-aggrandizement. They will be bright stars on the firmament of battle, angels of death.
Blah, blah, blah. Do these big blue space dorks ever shut up? If you have any exposure to the Warhammer hobby, you've probably seen a Space Marine. These power-armored super soldiers are the poster boys for Games Workshop and are ubiquitous in nerd stores across the world. So along with just like the general mainstream acceptance of nerdy stuff, I think Warhammer has been experiencing a increase in the zeitgeist with their recent crossover in Magic the Gathering, series of Marvel Comics, Funko Pops, action figures. They already have the extensive Black Library filled with audiobooks and novels, as well as a very extensive catalog of video games, and even an upcoming TV show reportedly helmed by Henry Cavill that may have already been canceled before production has started. We'll find out more about that later. That would be cool though. I would watch that. Either way, Space Marines are very likely most people's first contact with the world of 40K. I've tried starting a few Space Marine armies in my over 2 decades with the hobby, and the closest I came was a couple years ago. I had about 1,000 points of Space Wolves going. I was kind of into it. But it was also right around the time that they announced the Primaris Marines. Apparently all my dudes were now firstborn, and the new shiny Primaris had better stats and were just all around bigger and supposedly better, so I decided to cut my losses and bail. The new Primaris just seemed kind of whack. They look like they're about to chug a Red Bull and take down a local airsoft competition or something. At that point, I decided Space Marines are lame, and I never looked back. Until now. You look so angry.
I don't know. I like orcs because they're just so funny and goofy. Everything else in Warhammer is just so serious. They're so yes, like Space Marines and stuff. But the orcs, they just want to fight in the glorious wog. They just want Daka.
They're trying to get this ship back because it got stolen.
Oh, who stole it?
I don't know, this big guy here.
Oh, jeez.
You have to see these 2 guys to get the ship back because this guy's going it. This big creepy guy.
I'm painting the Space Marine today, and I'm really excited the Space Marine, so let's get into it.
My 7-year-old son Brady has been painting alongside me for a few years now. He has so much fun painting. He loves the community. He loves watching YouTube videos on hobbying. I wonder why, but he's finally beginning to understand how to put together an army in these games, in all the different games that he plays. And I think he's really got his eyes set on 40K now. He's been collecting orcs since last Christmas. He's been saving up Tooth Fairy money. He'll get a couple of used orcs out of me every time we go to the nerd store. He finally has a full force, so that's really cool. The problem is, I don't have a 40K army anymore. I sold my last full 40K army when the oil world dropped. I had around 3,500 points of Tau that I'd painted when getting back into the hobby during 7th edition. I just wasn't using them anymore, and honestly, if I was gonna play 40K, Tau just don't really feel very Warhammer to me anymore. So I didn't feel bad letting them go. That being said, if my son's orcs were gonna have something to crump, I was gonna have to start from scratch. Whenever I'm unsure of what army I want to start collecting, or if I have no idea what I want to paint next, a lot of times I'll head to the used mini section in my LGS. I'll grab 4 or 5 different minis that kind of just catch my eye at the time and look like they'd be a fun little one-off. And sometimes that turns into something more. And there's no pressure when you're just messing around with a single model. You don't have to commit to a cohesive color scheme that looks good across a whole army or even just a whole unit. You can just kind of be experimental. They're always built, and most of the time they're primed. So it's really fun to just grab a couple models, go home and start painting. On the shelf that night, a lone Primaris Space Marine caught my eye. Was it finally time to try again? Standing on a piece of torn cork, awkwardly brandishing his knife to the side and clutching his bolter. I grabbed him and a few other guys I thought looked cool, as well as some paints I wanted to try out, and I headed home. I ended up painting that Marine yellow with a magenta underspray. I'd seen some other YouTube channels show that technique off, and I've always wanted to try it. And it came out really good. It looked awesome, and it was really fun. And the Marine looked cool. On paper, Space Marines should be cool. They're genetically enhanced religious zealots with big armor and fucking bigger guns. Everything that goes into their creation, to what they are able to do on the battlefield, to how they are treated and revered in death, all of it, it all seems pretty cool. Let's go. Alright. I'm hype. Let's do this. Wikipedia defines coolness, or being cool, as an aesthetic of attitude, behavior, appearance, and style that is generally admired. Because of the varied and changing interpretation of what is considered cool, as well as its subjective nature, the word has no singular meaning. While I pondered this nebulous definition, I decided to ask around. First, I reached out to my YouTube subscribers as well as my Discord, which is free and linked below. You could join that if you wanted. The results were inconclusive, so I reached out to some fellow YouTubers to get their opinion on the situation.
Are Space Marines cool? Not really. Space Marines are some of the lamest characters ever written. But power armor is cool. The design is neat, it's fun to paint, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So I would say that Space Marine models, yeah, they're not bad. Not bad at all.
What do you think, Nick? CC Minis sent us something nice. Let's see.
Do I think Space Marines are cool? I don't know. Do the wolfing shit in the woods? Do I think Space Marines are cool? Yes.
Why do I think Space Marines are cool? Well, they're just kind of inherently cool to me. I don't think I have a good reason why. It's the same type of cool that I associate with monster trucks, dinosaurs, watching Jets, or a Michael Bay movie. They're just kind of inherently compelling. There may not be much substance behind these things, but does there have to be? Granted, I have a 4-year-old son, so take this opinion with a little pinch of salt.
Okay, and Dana Howell, what do you think about Space Marines?
Do I like Space Marines? Yeah, I guess so. They're not my favorite faction, but I do like painting them. I think they're a great blank canvas for self-expression. I could do without all of the complicated lore. I definitely prefer the look of the retro Marines to the newer Marines. Terminators are cool, though. New Terminators are cool, though.
Are they, like, giving me the green light here? Like, am I about to go out and buy some Space Marines? I gotta talk to more people. We gotta hit the streets. Bill Frankie.
Yeah.
Are Space Marines cool?
These guys? Not until they become these guys.
Get rid of those ones. Are those cool?
No.
Why not?
Space Marines lost a lot of their character as soon as they became Primaris. Everything I ever like is flawed in some way, and the Space Marines are always presented as so perfect, but I just can't get down with it.
Are Space Marines cool?
Yes.
Why?
Very cool. They speak for themselves. They're super strong and big and fast and real violent.
The Guard is the true heroes of the Imperium.
Wow.
Space Marines are cool. They come in to take all of our hard-won victories at the last minute. It's the Guard who sees the day overall. It's the Guard.
Space Marines are cool. They are the favorite sons of the Emperor, and they are the favorite sons of GW, and they're my children as well.
Space Marines are cool, but they're also kind of overrated. Only the Ultramarines are the poster boys for Warhammer. There are so many better chapters. Case in point, you ever hear of the Lamenters chapter?
Those guys?
Yes. They do what?
They're cool.
If you look into their lore, some of the best stories, these guys are unlucky as all heck. Heck, another great one, the Raptors.
Hey Johnny, are Space Marines cool?
Like Halo?
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, no, yeah.
I am a Space Marine fan. The problem is,
You don't like Ultramarines?
I mean, no, I don't like them. And you can thank Matt Ward for that one.
No. They kind of just look like Buzz Lightyear with a gun.
Okay, do you think Space Marines are cool?
Yeah.
Why?
Big spacemen. Just, big old shoulder pads, big guns. The dreadnoughts, I think that's what I was thinking about, like, when I was a kid, like, seeing that stuff.
The old Grimdark vibes. Those are dope.
I mean, Black Templars is my shit. That was, like, when I first got into it.
So what do you think? Do you think Space Marines are cool?
No. No, they're not cool.
Absolutely not. I've spent my entire gaming career losing to them. Also, I wouldn't collect them. I think they're too plain Jane and a little too vanilla.
Okay.
I played Orcs and Chaos Space Marines of all kinds and Chaos of all kinds.
So the exact opposite.
The exact opposite. They got the filigree, they got the drip. Whether they win or lose, they look good doing it.
Bet.
They look good doing it.
I knew what I had to do. It was time to see for myself. I returned home with my box of intercessors. I dug out some of my old models from my Space Wolves project and ended up with a nice little custom start collecting box. 2 squads of dorks, a big chonky unit, and some characters to round it all out. Initially, I was thinking of doing like a custom chapter. I was gonna do something with some grots and night goblins and make it kind of goofy, like the Shroom Slayers or something dumb like that. But the more time I spent building the kit, maybe the Emperor was whispering in my ear or something, but I don't know. I kind of decided to just go full steam ahead on Codex compliant Space Marines. Since I wanted to paint them yellow, I guess it was time to become an Imperial Fist player. So the Imperial Fists are known for their ability to quickly fortify and hold an area. Their Primarch, Dorn, was the one who designed and built the Imperial Palace on Terra. And the Imperial Fists are actually a really interesting chapter that I didn't really know anything about before starting this project. I've definitely been drinking the haterade on Space Marines the past couple years, but the more time I spent building these guys, I was definitely coming around. The Intercessor kit itself was actually a lot of fun to build. At first I thought it was just going to be a mess of Games Workshop CAD vomit, but once I realized each model was grouped together with its parts on each corner of the sprue, it all actually made a lot of sense in my head, and I was kind of flying through. I wasn't taking them to completion because I was leaving, their heads off or maybe their arms off to make some choices with weapons or helmets later, but just getting the basic body and legs and everything built, it was no problem at all. I was going through those quick. That left me a lot of time to actually just have fun with my bits box, since I basically very quickly had just a blank canvas of 10 models to do whatever I wanted on. On a side note, if you are new to the hobby, I think this kit actually provides a decent amount of customization and choice. I think you have a lot of fun putting these guys together and making choices just from the base kit. If you really are a seasoned hobbyist with a giant bits collection, you can really just go crazy and do whatever you want on these guys. They're pretty modular and the connection points are all pretty flat, so they're actually pretty easy to kit bash. You can go all out with them or you can keep them very basic. Either way, it's an awesome kit and I had a great time with it. But the building was done, the basing was applied, and it was time to get some color on them. I had a very specific plan of attack for what I was gonna do with my airbrush. It goes like this: black primer, white zenithal, magenta from below, orangey yellow from above, varnish to protect the ink, let it dry. This gives me an awesome starting point to work off of because it already feels like a lot of the work is done. It already looks cool. So it just feels like anything I add to this is just gonna, bring out the details and just make it that much better. So it was cool to know very quickly that this scheme across an entire squad of dudes did look really cool and it was gonna work. After everything dried, I started base coating all of the other materials. Black guns, and red for the Aquila and shoulder pads. The red trim I had selected meant that my Marines were from the third company, and if I was going to go Codex compliant, I would need the correct shoulder markings. This is my first time actually using transfers. I've been painting models for over 20 years, and these things have always freaked me out. I just kind of winged it this time. I didn't even look anything up. I just winged it. I just set the transfers on the sponge of my wet palette and just let it get wet. And then after after 30 seconds, I scooped it up with either a brush or an X-Acto knife. I tried both ways. And then very gracefully slid it onto the shoulder pad, mashed it down flat, and just chucked a bunch of matte varnish on it. And it worked. I mean, they look a little rugged, but isn't that good? Like they kind of look cracked and battered, like they're battle worn. So I'm pretty happy with how they came out, and I think going into future projects, I will not be afraid to do transfers anymore. And I don't think you should be either. They aren't really very intimidating once you do it. You also have a lot of time to decide if you want to reposition them or just straight out remove them. They dry and set very slow, so don't feel like you need to get it right on the first try. After everything had set, it was time for a wash. I mixed up a custom blend of magenta shade, Reichland flesh shade, strong tone, and a little medium. This went over everything except the guns and the dark blue fabrics. Time for finishing touches. Nothing crazy, just some final highlights and picking out the small details. What? Brady had finished his orcs, and I had my Space Marines ready to go, but we needed a table to fight on. I dug out the kill team terrain he had painted a few years ago. He's always been asking me to redo it. He wasn't happy with how it came out. I wanted to preserve the idea of what he did, those orky splashes of color, but just kind of finish it and make it look complete. So I did a white zenithal from above. I hit each panel with a different color of ink. Then I found this random wash. I don't know what it was. I shook it up and just chucked it over everything just because I had a lot of it. And then I just did a big dry brush all over everything. Definitely quick and dirty, but I think it came out pretty cool and it looks great when it's all laid out together. I definitely accomplished what I set out to do. My kid has an army to beat up and a cool table of terrain to do it on. But what did I learn? Like, are Space Marines cool? Doesn't matter. One thing's for sure, they're definitely fun.